What up players, it's WallBoss up in this mod. Today we are finishing this masterclass painting white armor and battle damage. You see the scrapes and chips. This guy loves his bike. He rides it all over the place and it's all busted up, as well as some of his armor. So I'm going to teach you a little bit how to do that, and I'll give you a little live demo right now. While I just realized that the front of his armor looks very nice and pristine, so we're going to scuff it up a little bit. The paints you're going to need are White Scar, Runefang Steel, what else did I use? Agrax Earthshade, Steel Legion Drab, Celestra Grey, and Skaven Blight Dinge. And we're following along with White Dwarf 358, the masterclass on how to paint Corsaro Khan, on how to do white armor. There we go. So thanks for watching, players, and hope you enjoy the video. Okay, players, we're gonna finish this White Scars biker, and or the white on the White Scars biker actually, before we finish the rest of the model. So we're just looking at finishing the whites on the armor and adding in some awesome battle damage. So the first thing we're gonna do is use pure skull white, blended into the previous layers and applied near the edges. That's what step 5 in the White Dwarf that I'm looking at says to do. So we're gonna use White Scar and just really lightly go over all of the edges of the model. By edges, what we mean are these any of the areas that are nearest to the light. I'm gonna keep away from the reverse kind of like cell shading effect that we did by leaving the darker colors near the lines. We're just looking at all the raised areas and adding some white paint. So there's white paint to it. So like with the leg, I'm only going for everything that's kind of closest to the light. Here in the back of the motorcycle, knee pad, front of the armor here. Looking at all the digits of the Power Fist. Next. Okay. Center of this shoulder pad. And there we go. Should be fine. The whites by now have already been built up pretty nicely. So it says the next thing we're going to do is the recesses were carefully shaded with a small amount of Caridon Granite. So in the new color range, you're equating Caridon Granite to Skaven Blight Dirge. So you get a lot of water mixed in with that Skaven Blight Dirge, make something that's a little bit of a wash or a shade in consistency. So really, really watery. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a thinner brush to apply this. And all we're gonna do is we're just going to line the shadows and the recesses. So, for example, under the armor here, down here, under the shoulder, and like the armpit area. Where you could do it where the metal meets the plate. Build up the shadows. Like right here. That way you don't just have like a clear, solid break from bright white to metal. Just make sure that you have enough water so that it is never like you're painting just straight paint on. Should be almost the consistency of a glaze. So a great place you can also put it is here in this plates between the feet, the boot, I mean. Right here on the side. Kind of building up the shadows here on the side of the shoe. And a great place to put it would be like here on the side and the back of the leg. So we're building artificial shadows. Starting from the back, slowly dragging it forward. Create a little shadow effect. Like so. See that? Igor? Igor, wake up! Sorry, master. Are you still doing this white painting guide? Yes, Igor, we're not done painting all this white armor yet. Alright, alright. Another great place is here in the rim of the armor plates, where the red armor meets the white. You don't want too much. You don't ever want it to seem like you're brushing actual paint, just like water with some dark pigment. Here by the face, and that should do it. The rest of it looks pretty good. And you can add more or less as you like, but for me that will do it for this part. For step 7, it says a wash of Devlin mud was then brushed into the recesses and joints. And since we don't use Devlin mud because we changed it now, it's Agrax Earthshade. So we're following through with what we just did, but now we're only sticking to the joints in the armor rather than like flat surfaces like the back of this leg. So we'll go here at the front. in between the armor plates. And there at the bottom, like that. Where the white meets the silver. This is when you're going to see a lot of really good payoff. Your model should end up looking something like this, have this kind of effect to it. You're going into the creases, so let's see, here, shadows where the red armor meets the white. The red armor meets the white here, the shoulder pad. Just drag it out all the way across. And the dark brown adds a really cool counter to all the white paint. I think if we went with straight black, the shadows would seem maybe a little forced, but with the dark brown of Agrax Earthshade, it actually looks pretty good. So you just want to drag the tip of your brush where all of the red painted areas meet the white. And there you go. Okay, next, the final step. Finally, the edges of the armor were re-highlighted with a fine application of Skull White. Are you serious? So, I'm not going to really do it, but if you want to go back over with your white scar, then this is where you would do it. I'll just show you a little bit of an example. So you re-highlight. Like if your Agrax Earthshade got onto the main flat surface area of a white section that you don't want it to, you just go back and fix it up. For me though, I am going to jump on to the next part, which is battle damage. So it says for battle damage, you mark the chips using a 1-to-1 mix of Space Wolves Gray and Graveyard Earth. So for us, the comparable mix is Space Wolves Gray would be Celestra Gray, and Graveyard Earth in the new range is Steel Legion Drab. So 1-to-1 mix of these two. Got my wet palette here. Gonna mix this up. And you want to make your chips, your battle damage in the armor as random as you can. So we'll go with like the front of the bike. Oh. Like little dots, random scrapes, kind of like where dirt and debris may have chipped with the lines. This is also good for the bike because there's a lot of these hard edges on the bike. So this is where you can really make your bike come alive with these edges. Oh, that's probably a little too big. That's okay. there. Over here, around the side here. There. You want it to look like these are old, you know, beasts of war. Hi, Darian. And you want it to kind of reflect that these are machines that have been well used. Talking both about the bike and the rider. So all these hard edges are fair game for your battle scars. Okay. When we're marking up our guy here, usually here on the front, on his toesies. If you want to see some other battle-scarred Marines that I've painted, you should check out my Blood Angels project. I did a lot of these battle damage or scars, battle scars on them. Yeah, all you're just doing is like random marks. Here up the side of the knee pad. Down here at the front by the toe of the boot. Here on the scratching of the gauntlet. The thing you gotta remember is that these suits of armor are all painted, right? So the white paint, there is a primer of ceramite color underneath the white. And that's what's getting exposed by these chips, chipping away at the white paint. Okay, and the last step is Caridin Granite applied to the lower edge, then highlighted with Pure Skull White. Okay, so easy. We're just gonna take Skaven Blight Dinge. We're gonna paint these into all of the marks that we've already done, but we're going to use them only half as much. So whatever battle chips you painted, like I would only paint into them, into the half of them, rather than completely lining it. So you're going half the surface width of what you've just painted. This is interesting because in the White Dwarf masterclass for the Blood Angels, for the Battle Chips article, it kind of said to do something else. It kind of said to highlight first, or paint on the Caridin Granite chips first, and then, no wait, that's not right. What did it say? It said to highlight the chips first. So if you're doing like red, the red armor, then you would highlight orange. You would make the chips in orange, battle scars in orange, and then you would paint this into the orange. Like the Caridin Granite step would be the last thing you do, but in this version, could be because it's white, we're painting white instead of the other way around, so we're actually painting down. We're painting the shadows in rather than, I don't know. Who knows? Then it says to highlight with Skull White. I'm going to teach you another trick I learned though, and that is to take Runefang Steel, your brightest silver, and we're going to paint this into a third of the chips that have the Carradine Granite or the Skaven Blight Dinge. The reason for this is because these are going to be the most severe, the deepest of the scratches that get right down to the original silver of the armor. So you paint it mostly on these lines here, where these other chips are. And the thing with these, when you're painting on battle damage, is you want it to seem all self-contained. You don't want it to feather too much, because it has to pop out, you know, so it has to be pretty prominent, but you don't want it to like blend into the area around it too much. They should pop out right on the edges. It takes a while to find, you know, how you want to do it correctly or to your liking, but this is one of those practice makes perfect kind of things. So you don't want the metal you don't want to paint the metal right onto the white. You want to have like a little bit of this darker brown paint around it, and that is just so that the silver will pop out more. So we'll do like a little bit up this guy's front of this leg armor here. His armor got badly chipped and damaged and is worn. Now if the white scars just kind of hung out at the back, if they were a kind of legion that didn't really fight too much on the front lines, then, you know, it would make sense that their armor would be nice and pristine and white, but the fact that they fight so much on these giant motorcycles kind of makes you think that they would have like lots of chips and scrapes and scratches and stuff. So that's all we're showing. You just don't want to do too much, because we spent so long on this white armor. But there you go. So you see this little chip here at the bottom of the leg armor. The Runefang Steel shines really nicely when it's in front of a backdrop like that. So this is it for the masterclass on how to paint white. Stay tuned for the rest of this White Scars tutorial, probably after the end of the Iron Warriors, so that we kind of stick in order of the legions. This is Legion 5, the White Scars. We'll finish with all the details like painting up the red, doing the final details on the model, but I am glad I got done with the masterclass for the whites. Like I said, if you're doing a character model like this guy, then it's not a bad idea. The battle damage makes the model look more realistic and just awesome. But yeah, if you're doing a regular horde army or an army where you have to do even a squad's worth of these guys, then this way of painting white is not worth it. But for me, I feel a definite sense of accomplishment painting this guy. I'm very happy to have finished it, and I hope you guys liked it. Latest players!